Welcome to your Inspiration Quick Travel Guide. Get ready for the Just Listen to Slovenia edition. I'm Kevin, and I'm so excited to have our expert, Sarah, here to guide us through this incredible country.
It's great to be here, Kevin. I can't wait to share my love for Slovenia with everyone.
Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder, this is primarily an audio experience, but you can find some cool videos on our YouTube channel to enhance your journey. Okay, Sarah, paint a picture for us. What's so special about Slovenia?
Imagine a country where you can hike snow-capped mountains in the morning, soak up the sun on the Adriatic coast in the afternoon, and explore charming medieval towns in the evening, all in one day. That's Slovenia in a nutshell. It's a land of contrasts, a hidden gem in Central Europe.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And I hear it's perfect for those who love to explore both nature and culture. Today, we're going on a deep dive into this incredible country. We're here to help you plan your own Slovenian adventure. And we've got articles, travel guides, and even insights from a local to give you the inside scoop on the most captivating places and those must-know tips.
It's fascinating, Slovenia. It's like Europe in miniature. You've got snow-capped mountains, rolling hills, vineyards, and even a sliver of coastline, all packed into a country half the size of Switzerland.
Half the size of Switzerland.
Wow.
Huh. But to put it in perspective for our U.S. listeners, one local told us it's even smaller than New Jersey. Can you imagine all that diversity crammed into a space that size?
Exactly.
So I've been digging into all the research for this one, and honestly, saying Slovenia's fairy tale is almost an understatement.
Oh, I agree.
We're talking about lakes so clear, they look like mirrors reflecting these jagged snow-capped peaks. Dramatic gorges carved out by rivers that are literally emerald green. Waterfalls, hidden away in these grottos. It's like
they took all the best natural wonders and just squeezed them into one little country.
It's true. And the craziest part is how close it all is.
Right.
Like you can be hiking in the Julian Alps, first thing in the morning, and then by the afternoon, you're sipping wine on the Adriatic coast.
Talk about a vacation where you actually get to see and do it all.
No kidding. Yeah. Okay, but we can't talk about Slovenia without talking about Lake Bled.
Oh, absolutely. Lake Bled is like the picture postcard of Slovenia.
It's that perfect image.
Yeah.
That little church on its own tiny island.
Right.
And then those mountains rising up behind it.
It's so iconic. But it's not just pretty. Lake Bled has a really interesting history, too. Did you know that that island was actually a sacred site, like way back in the day?
Really?
Yeah. It was dedicated to the Slavic goddess of love and fertility. So it's basically been a super romantic spot for centuries.
Oh, wow. That makes those Pletna boat rides even more special. Those traditional wooden boats?
Those are gorgeous.
Yeah, the ones that take you out to the island.
Yep, those are the Pletnas. And once you're on the island, you can visit the Church of the Assumption of Mary.
Oh, I would love that.
And maybe even ring the wishing bell for good luck.
I would be ringing that bell like crazy. And then, to top it all off, after you've explored the island, you can hike up to Bled Castle, right? It's up on this cliff overlooking the lake.
And the views from up there, I hear they are just mind-blowing. You can see for miles. Into Austria, Italy, it's incredible.
That's amazing. Okay, and speaking of mind-blowing, we have to talk about the Bled cream cake.
Oh, we can't forget about the cream cake. This is not just some dessert.
It's an institute.
It's like a national treasure.
Right.
Flaky pastry, creamy custard, and then just piles of whipped cream all dusted with powdered sugar.
Oh my gosh, stop it. It sounds
so good.
So good. But as tempting as it is to just spend our whole trip at Lake Bled stuffing our faces with cream cake,
yeah, we can't.
We'd be missing out.
There's so much more to see in Slovenia.
That's right. So not too far from Lake Bled is its less famous, maybe even overlooked cousin, Lake Bohinj.
Ah, Lake Bohinj.
Yeah.
Tucked away in Triglav National Park.
Oh, that's right. Slovenia's only national park, named after its highest peak, Mount Triglav.
Exactly.
Lake Bohinj seems like it's made for peace and quiet.
Oh, totally. It's known for being so pristine and tranquil.
I can picture it. Like kayaking across that still water and the peaks of the Julian Alps just reflecting on the surface.
Oh, pure magic. And if you're really looking to get off the grid, one of the sources mentions Lake Planarsko. Have you heard of that one?
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so it's this little emerald green lake tucked away in the mountains near the Austrian border. And it's supposed to have this really beautiful, easy walking trail all around it. Plus a little lakeside restaurant where you can eat while soaking up the view.
Okay, Lake Planarsko is officially on my list.
I'm adding it to mine too.
But before we get lost in the mountains forever, we have to talk about the gorges.
The gorges, yes.
I mean, Slovenia is famous for them. And the most famous of them all, the one you absolutely cannot miss, is the Vintgar Gorge.
Vintgar is just spectacular. It's this narrow canyon carved by the Radovna River. So you have these waterfalls cascading down and these pools of water that are the most incredible shade of green. And you walk along these wooden walkways and bridges right through the middle of it all.
Oh my God, it sounds incredible. I mean, we could easily spend this whole deep dive just talking about nature, right?
Right.
But Slovenia has these amazing cities too.
It does. We have to talk about the cities. So let's start our journey in Ljubljana, the capital city. It's known for its charming, almost fairy tale-like atmosphere, and it's so walkable you can easily explore the entire city center on foot. You might even bump into the same friendly faces along the way.
It's like a small town with a big city heart, right? I read that Ljubljana Castle is a must-see. It's perched on a hill overlooking the city.
Absolutely. And if you don't feel like hiking up, there's a funicular that will whisk you to the top in no time. The views from the castle are simply breathtaking. You get a panoramic vista of the city and the surrounding landscape.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. While you're exploring Ljubljana, keep an eye out for some unique sights. First, there's the Butcher's Bridge, which despite its name is actually quite romantic. It's covered in love locks, placed there by couples, as a symbol of their commitment.
And if you're a nature enthusiast, head to Park Epica. You might even spot some coipus. There are these adorable furry creatures that look like a cross between a beaver and a rat. They're often frolicking near the water.
They sound adorable. And for the art lovers out there, the Metalkova Art Center is a must visit. It's an autonomous social and cultural center that occupies the site of a former military barracks.
What's fascinating about Metalkova is that it's a hub for alternative culture. With a focus on inclusivity and creative expression, you'll find galleries, studios, clubs, and bars, all showcasing the vibrant and diverse art scene of Ljubljana.
And let's not forget about the food. For a truly authentic culinary experience, check out the Open Kitchen Food Market. Every Friday, food stalls set up in the market square. They offer a delicious array of local and international dishes.
And what's great about the Open Kitchen is its commitment to sustainability. They prioritize local and seasonal ingredients and promote eco-friendly practices, so you can indulge in delicious food while feeling good about supporting a responsible initiative. But let's move on to Slovenia's second largest city, Maribor. What caught your eye about Maribor?
Well, first of all, Maribor has the oldest vine in the world.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's a Jumatovka vine, and it's over 400 years old.
Wow.
And it's still producing grapes.
That's incredible. I mean, that really tells you something about how important winemaking is in Slovenia.
Oh yeah, and apart from the old vine, Maribor has this cute little old town with historic architecture, lively squares, a very relaxed vibe. It seems like a perfect place to relax, sip some local wine, and just enjoy the Slovenian atmosphere.
Sounds perfect to me. And there's also Celje, a city that's just steeped in history, with a medieval castle and an adorable old town.
I know. Celje Castle looks amazing.
Doesn't it?
It's up on this hilltop overlooking the city and has all this history with knights and counts and even some royal drama.
It sounds so interesting.
And the old town of Celje is supposed to be super charming with cobbled streets, colorful buildings, the classic European feel.
It sounds lovely. But there was one more town that I really wanted to talk about, Canal of Sochi.
Oh, yes. Canal of Sochi, this hidden gem along the Sochi River, which is like this amazing emerald green color, right?
It's stunning.
The town itself is small and charming and has these colorful Italian-style houses lining the river. But the canal bridge is what I'm most excited about. This iconic stone bridge that just arches over the river.
Yes, the photos are incredible. You get the emerald water, the bridge, the colorful houses. It's so picturesque.
I can already picture myself, trying to get that perfect picture from the canal bridge viewpoint. It just screams Instagram.
Slovenia really does seem like a photographer's dream. Okay, now I think we need to head back to the mountains for a little mountain magic.
Yes. Let's talk about Velika Planina, this incredible mountain plateau in the Slovenian Alps.
It's known for those unique Slovenian shepherd's huts.
Yes.
Those adorable wooden huts.
They're so cute.
And in the spring, it's covered in purple crocuses. Imagine hiking through rolling hills, surrounded by wildflowers, with those little huts dotting the landscape.
Oh my gosh, it sounds magical.
Yeah.
One of the sources actually recommended going in the second half of April for peak crocus season. And they did warn about the bumpy road getting there, though.
Oh, good to know. We might need a sturdy car.
That's for sure. But speaking of stunning mountain scenery, how about the Logar Valley?
The Logar Valley. It's another glacial valley, also in the Slovenia Alps. Lush forests, waterfalls, those incredible mountain views. It's like a postcard.
It's definitely on my list. It's a hiker's paradise with trails that take you through forests, past waterfalls, up to these amazing panoramic views.
And there's Rinka Waterfall, which is a pretty easy hike and totally worth it.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be breathtaking. And for those who are maybe looking for a shorter walk, there's the Slapashata Palank Waterfall. It's smaller, but just as beautiful, like cascading down these mossy rocks.
You know, what's really cool about Slovenia is how it caters to all types of travelers. You want the city experience, you got it.
You want peace and quiet by a lake or in a valley? Done.
Thrill-seeking adventure sports, head to the Socha Valley. It's all right there.
It's amazing how much this little country has to offer.
It really is. Now let's shift gears and head to the coast. Slovenia may not be known for its beaches, but it does have a hidden gem on the Adriatic Sea, the nature reserve Strunjan.
This reserve boasts dramatic flysch cliffs, a natural pebble beach, and even a lagoon. And what's really fascinating is that it's also home to Slovenia's only salt pans, where salt is still harvested using traditional methods.
It's a unique opportunity to learn about local history and culture while enjoying the beautiful coastal scenery.
Ready, let's time travel.
Let's do it.
Where do we even start? Slovenia's history is like layers upon layers, right?
Yeah.
So many empires and cultures have left their mark there.
It's incredible. You can find traces of the Romans, like Amona, which is what Ljubljana used to be called back in the Roman days.
Wow.
Then there's the medieval period, all those castles on cliffs, like Predjama Castle. Have you seen pictures of that one?
Think so?
It's built into a cave. It's wild. And then you can't forget about the Venetian influence, especially in the coastal towns like Piran.
Ooh, Piran. Our sources were obsessed with the architecture there, specifically that Venetian Gothic style.
It's gorgeous.
Narrow streets, cobblestones, those pastel-colored houses with the terracotta roofs. They said the harbor rivals Venice itself.
Sounds like a dream. But beyond the big historical sites, there's all these folk traditions too. One source mentioned the Rogatek Open Air Museum. It's basically a living museum built around a traditional Slovenian farm.
Oh yeah, I read about that. They have workshops where you can learn how to do traditional crafts, like baking bread, weaving baskets, even blacksmithing.
How cool is that?
It's so cool, like stepping back in time and experiencing what life was like for Slovenians hundreds of years ago.
It's amazing how much they've preserved. Okay, shifting gears a bit, how about skiing? I know it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Slovenia, but they actually have some great ski resorts.
They do. The Julian Alps are the perfect backdrop for skiing and snowboarding. And a bunch of the sources recommended Vogel. It's a ski resort near Lake Bohinj. They have slopes for everyone, from beginners to experts. Plus, the season lasts from December to May, way longer than most places in Europe.
That's a long season. And after a day on the slopes, you know what would be perfect? Soaking in some of Slovenia's thermal springs. We have to talk about Lešiko.
Yes, Lešiko. It's famous for its healing waters.
People have been going there for centuries to bathe in the thermal baths, and some of the sources even said the water has like actual therapeutic properties.
Sounds so relaxing, like the perfect way to unwind after a day of hiking or skiing.
Exactly. It's all about balance. And you know, speaking of balance, Slovenia seems to have found this perfect harmony between nature and culture.
It really does. And you can see that in the Slovenian people too. They're known for their love of nature and their strong work ethic, but they're also so warm and hospitable.
Absolutely. And one source even mentioned that Slovenians are often polyglots.
Polyglot.
Yeah, like they speak multiple languages. So besides Slovenian, you'll hear English, German, Italian, which makes it pretty easy to travel around.
That's so helpful. Okay, but for such a small country, Slovenia has a surprising number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
Doesn't it?
We already talked about the Okokten Caves, but there are also those prehistoric pile dwellings around the Alps. They give you a glimpse into how people lived thousands of years ago.
And then there's the Adrija Mercury Mine, which is all about the history of mercury mining in the region.
It's mind-blowing how much they've managed to fit into such a small space.
Okay, but now I'm getting hungry. We have to talk about the food. We touched on a few dishes, but let's really dig in.
Let's do it.
What are we going to be eating in Slovenia?
So Slovenian cuisine is this really cool mix of Mediterranean and Central European flavors.
Oh, I love that.
So think fresh seafood from the Adriatic, hearty stews and dumplings from the mountains, and of course, all those incredible desserts.
Okay, give me the highlights. All right, so there's potica, which is this rolled pastry with sweet or savory fillings. One source called it a national treasure and even gave a recipe. We should try to make it.
We should. What else?
There are sutrukli, which are like dumplings that can be boiled, baked, or fried and filled with all sorts of things. Cottage cheese, tarragon, walnuts, the list goes on.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. What about drinks?
Well, Slovenia has some excellent wines, especially the white wines like Sauvignon Blanc and Riesling. And the wine regions are in these beautiful valleys, so you can combine wine tasting with gorgeous scenery.
And for beer lovers, Slovenia has a really cool craft beer scene.
Oh yeah, microbreweries all over the country.
Plus, there's that Jellic green gold fountain.
Oh my God, yes, the world's only beer fountain.
You can try 6 different local beers right from the fountain. That is so cool.
So cool. I need to go there. Okay, but as much as we both clearly love food, we can't forget about all the hidden gems Slovenia has to offer. What did you find in your research?
Well, one source recommended visiting the Logar Valley, which we talked about before, but it really is a hiker's paradise.
It is. You can get away from the crowds there and just enjoy the nature.
Exactly. And for those who prefer bikes to hiking boots, there's the Drava cycling route. It follows the Drava River through stunning landscapes, vineyards, charming little towns. You can stop for picnics, wine tasting, or just take in the scenery.
Sounds so peaceful.
It does. And for a truly unique experience, how about Velika Planina? We talked about it before, but you can actually stay overnight in those cute shepherd's huts.
Really?
Yeah, and sample local cheeses and hike through the meadows.
It's like stepping into a different world.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, but we can't talk about Slovenia without mentioning all the castles.
Right. Castles everywhere.
We talked about Predjama Castle built into the cliff and Solji Castle with all the nightly drama. But what about Ljubljana Castle? That one must have amazing views of the city.
Oh, the views are incredible.
It sounds like it.
Ljubljana Castle is a must-see for sure. You can wander around the castle grounds, climb the tower for panoramic views, and check out the museum inside, which is all about the history of Ljubljana.
So we have castles, caves, mountains, lakes, incredible food, friendly people. Slovenia has it all.
It really does, and we've only scratched the surface.
I know, there's so much more to discover. Let's rewind a bit and answer some common questions that our listeners might have about planning a trip to Slovenia.
Good idea. Practicalities are just as important as inspiration. So let's start with a big one. What's the best way to get around Slovenia?
We touched on this earlier, but it's worth emphasizing. While public transportation is an option, renting a car gives you the ultimate flexibility to explore at your own pace and venture off the beaten path.
Exactly. Slovenia is a relatively small country, so you can easily cover a lot of ground in a day, especially if you have your own wheels. Plus, think of all the scenic drives you can enjoy.
Speaking of practical matters, let's talk about money. What's the currency in Slovenia?
Well, here's some good news for our listeners. Slovenia uses the euro, which is convenient for travelers from other Eurozone countries. And even if you're not from a Eurozone country, most places, especially in tourist areas, accept credit cards. So you don't need to worry about exchanging a lot of cash.
That makes things so much easier. No need to stress about finding an ATM as soon as you land.
Right. And while we're on the topic of practicalities, let's talk about communication. I know I've been practicing my Slovenian, but beyond Dober dan and Hvala, my vocabulary is pretty limited.
Don't worry. You'll be happy to know that most Slovenians, especially in tourist areas, speak English quite well. You'll have no problem communicating in hotels, restaurants, and shops.
That's a relief. But it's still a good gesture to learn a few basic Slovenian phrases. It shows respect for the local culture and might even bring a smile to someone's face. But before we say goodbye to Slovenia, let's take a step back.
Okay, good idea. We've covered so much ground, so many sights and sounds.
Exactly. Now it's time to process it all. Like, why, after listening to all of this, should someone choose Slovenia for their next trip?
Yeah, good question. Out of everywhere in the world, why Slovenia?
You know, for me, it really comes down to that balance, the balance between the incredible natural beauty and the rich culture.
You're right, it's got it all. The picture-perfect landscapes, those mountains, those emerald lakes, those gorges.
But then there's more. You start peeling back the layers and you find those cute towns with the cobblestone streets and colorful houses.
And the people, so friendly and welcoming. And then there's the food, that mix of Mediterranean and Central European flavors.
Food!
Come on. Plus the arts and crafts, the history. Every corner of Slovenia has something special to offer.
It's true. And anyone can enjoy it. Hikers, history buffs, foodies, wine lovers, you name it. Slovenia's got something for everyone.
It's true. And the best part is, it's a small country, so you don't have to spend hours driving to see it all.
Exactly. You can be hiking in the morning, kayaking in the afternoon, and eating dinner in some charming town square all in the same day.
Now that's a vacation. Plus, Slovenia is way more affordable than a lot of other places in Western Europe.
Oh yeah, your money definitely goes further there. But honestly, it goes beyond all the practical stuff. There's something magical about Slovenia.
I know what you mean. It's like this hidden gem.
It is. And maybe that's part of the appeal. It's a place where you can actually slow down.
Unplug, breathe the fresh air, enjoy the simple things. Just get away from it all.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Slovenia, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Lay it on us. What's the big takeaway?
Okay, so think about this. Slovenia is right at the crossroads of Europe.
That's true.
And throughout history, all these different cultures and empires have come and gone, leaving their mark on Slovenia.
The Romans, the Habsburgs, the Venetians.
Exactly. And you see it everywhere in the architecture, the language, the food, even in the way that people interact with each other. It's this tapestry of influences that's woven into the fabric of Slovenia.
It's a good reminder that travel is about more than just seeing the sights.
So much more. It's about immersing yourself in a place, understanding its history, appreciating its complexity.
Recognizing those threads that connect us all.
Exactly. So when you do plan that trip to Slovenia, go deeper. Talk to the locals, try the food, learn about the history, and don't be afraid to embrace the unexpected. Let Slovenia surprise you.
That's great advice. Well, on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Slovenia. We hope we've inspired you to add this incredible country to your travel list.
Happy travels, everyone.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exciting travel content. Thanks for listening and happy traveling.